Okay, Pauline, it's obvious this is not going away. It's obvious that this government is embroiled in an international scandal of very, very large proportions that is coming out on the international stage as we speak, as we watch all this lunacy carry on. Now, the offer is there. Get on a plane, Pauline. And here's the trick, Pauline. Get on multiple planes. Because we ain't in the middle of the city, are we, Pauline? So maybe you should come and have a look yourself at all of this devil's work that we witness. That's the offer, Pauline, because legally, kind of in a quandary, given that the Supreme Court agrees with me, it's very clear, Pauline, that what I've laid out in front of you is very real. We're not joking around here when we've spent 15 years being tortured and terrorised by the states. We're not mucking around here when we have clearly defined an international war crime on the Supreme Court of New South Wales court record. I don't think anyone in history has ever done such a thing, Pauline. Right? And then to define a curial right within a land administered, I don't think anyone's even ever done that before in history, Pauline. And then to add on top of that the international law that you all agreed to and actually put it before the justices of these lands, Pauline, and clarify fact, Pauline, that these things I speak of are very, very real. It's kind of difficult to convey to the Australian population the delusion that is pushed upon them by your very government, Pauline. By your very government, Pauline. Now outed on the court record to be a delusion, because the reverse applies in this case, Pauline. If as a state police force you want to tell people that they are terrorists when they are in fact not, and then push an ideology on those people as far as into the courtroom, the jails and forensic mental health, push that ideology on those people, and then realise that you don't have a right to do that. You technically really do not have a right to do that, and you've set up the country to do that. Because the technical evil behind it, Pauline, is that it's slavery. This is the real technical sense, and this is the real fact of the matter at the core of law, Pauline. What you are doing in that parliament is slavery. You are managing free people as if they were wards of state. And you're not giving those free people the right of a state. You're just simply not teaching them. You're simply not allowing them if they find out. And you're using the police at the full force of war, Pauline, to try and stop it from occurring. And that's the sad part. When you yourselves attack holy ground and you use rubber bullets and you use gas canisters on holy ground. Now, I'd like you yourself, Pauline, just fly to Melbourne before you fly up here. Just take a B route, straight to Melbourne, Pauline. I want you to go to the King's Domain. I want you to physically walk those grounds. I can even have men turn up and guide you around, if you like, and show you things you may not have ever seen or be aware of before. But what I would like to make it very clear, Pauline, very, very clear. I want you to go and put yourself in Daniel Andrews' Victoria, Pauline, and I want you to stand at that shrine of remembrance, and I want you to look up that North Line like those people of the holy ground did. They flew their red ensigns at their war memorial and stood in the capacity of who they were under their Australian Imperial Forces, and they were faced off by the Victorian police in a full militarised fashion, Pauline. A full militarised fashion, Pauline. What I'd like you to witness as you walk down that North Line, you're now a protester, so to speak, flying your red ensign now, Pauline, and you're walking down that North Line towards where the police were. And then when you get to where the police were, I want you to look down at the concrete. Because down at the concrete, where your feet are the words, "This is holy ground." And those police, a foreign imperial power under the full force of what? The United Nations, clad in the United Nations military gear, Pauline. We witness these things, we see these things, step onto that holy ground and shoot those people with rubber bullets and gas canisters. The United Nations, Pauline, the United Nations committing an international war crime on Australian soil, Pauline. This is very serious stuff, isn't it, Pauline? At the hands of Daniel Andrews, Pauline, and the health minister, I forget his name. But they're both responsible for this, aren't they, Pauline? Both responsible for using full military force at the Shrine of Remembrance and at Victoria Markets. And it's becoming very demonstrative of this whole scenario to you, Pauline, that a bunch of war criminals with the full force of guns can't just walk in and create war crimes everywhere, can they, Pauline? They think they have a takeover of a country in the background without telling the population they're taking over the country? Is that what's going on, Pauline? And you won't tell the people, Pauline, and I have to do it for you, Pauline, because you're under a foreign oath to that mob that is dismantling the Constitution and disrupting our way of life with this clown show and this woke world, and allowing a minority to think they have some sort of authority while they dismantle a Constitution and do what in the background, Pauline? These very serious offences that we're talking about, which is why we talk about the criminal code and why we talk about an indissoluble constitution, Pauline, indissoluble trust with God that was founded by Anzac and that imperial crown under Australian imperial forces that you can't dismantle, you can't remove, because, we're here. We're not going anywhere. There's thousands of us. We're growing. These people know. They go home to their cities, they be their fathers and their sons, and they stand united under an Australian imperial flag, and they have one up over you as a government, don't they, Pauline? You become their servants again. But you were war criminals while you did it. You were total war criminals while you did it. And this is the technical point that we get to, Pauline. You can't continue this technical legal slavery any longer. William Wilberforce did all of this, and slavery was technically cancelled within the British Empire in the 1807, I think it was, because William Wilberforce spent most of the late 1700s just trying to abolish slavery, right? And by 1807, we had a Treaty of Ghent with the Americas. We had a peace agreement under the Treaty of Ghent. And what did you do to all of that? What did you do to all of that with your slave driving and your slave keeping? And now you do what with your persons, Pauline? With your persons, Pauline? What Penny Wong was caught on audio saying, dead legal fictions, Pauline. What do you do with your dead legal fictions? Do you enslave the people with those dead legal fictions, Pauline? Do you treat them like dead people, Pauline? Is that where the Bible said to Jesus, let the dead bury the dead, Pauline? Should we just letting you bury yourselves, Pauline? Because this is where we're at, Pauline. I'm offering you to get on a plane, but obviously you need to go through Melbourne first. You need to meet up with some men. You need to be shown around, Pauline. You technically need to be shown around, Pauline. So this sinks into your mind, Pauline. Into your mind, Pauline. To fracture this delusion, Pauline, that we've fractured on the Supreme Court record just because of that stone in Melbourne and the relevance to that Bible that President Trump... You remember when President Trump stood in the front of the Church of Presidents with his Bible, and he gave all of you a warning. He gave all of you a warning, and none of you fucking understand what that warning was. Do you, Pauline? So I'm asking you, I'm not telling you this, I'm offering, get on a plane, but you got to go to Melbourne first. You got to meet up with some men down in Melbourne, going to show you around. Going to show you some things that you're totally blind to, totally can't hear, totally can't see, Pauline. And then after that, you can get on multiple planes, Pauline, because it's not an easy trip. You know, multiple planes down to a tiny little one, right? And you're going to arrive here, and then we'll talk in private, totally in private, Pauline. Bring your assassins with you. You can bring your entourage. Bring Malcolm, Rennick, Babette. You can bring them too. But we've got to understand one thing here. Anybody that comes here must go to Melbourne first, Pauline. Must go to Melbourne first.